Ho, ho, ho to all the hoes, especially my hoes, man. Christmas time is here, and I thought I'd make things a little bit festive because today we're going to be talking about a Christmas horror film. That's right, which is why I switched up the setting. I'm now in a different place. We got the little festivities on the screen with me, and we're going to be talking about one of the very first, not the first, but one of the very first kind of mainstream slasher movies to drop and basically start up the genre, motivate some urban legends, and overall embody a lot of the Christmas spirit because it is in the name. It is in the name of it. Now, granted, is this a real Christmas feeling kind of story? Something like you would feel when you're watching like Krampus 2015 or something like that? Not really. Not really. It is in a Christmas setting, right? It is Christmas time. You do have Christmas carols, but it feels very much like a more individual movie. But since Christmas is in the name, I did want to talk about it. Now, if you haven't already guessed what movie I'm going to be talking about, I'm talking about Black Christmas, 1974, the very first one, not the remakes. Have not watched those yet. Have not heard good things either, but we'll see how that goes. Uh, so how do I feel about this movie? Well, before I get into basically sort of my negatives and positives with the movie, just as an overall gist, I thought that this was a pretty creepy movie. I thought it was creepy. I thought it had a nice ambiance to it. It's very simple, not much happens. And I do think that despite not much happening, the climax and the ending of the movie actually kind of saves it and makes it a lot better because I thought the climax and ending was actually genuinely scary. It actually freaked me out and actually scared me. I thought the scene where the main character is heading up to the top part of the house is creepy. That scene where you have the eyeball through the doorway, that I recognize from, seeing it in other things like, let's say, Mr. Nightmare videos or just on the internet. I didn't know that's where it was from, so that's great to know. It was super creepy. The killer in the movie is super creepy, very sort of maniacal and psychotic and, just kind of bipolar personality to him. And yeah, I thought it was super effective. It was creepy, it was scary, and yeah, those are my overall thoughts. Now, do I think it's the greatest cult classic movie of all time? No, I did not love it as much as other people do. I think it's a good movie, but if it wasn't for that climax and ending, this would have probably gotten like a 7 out of 10, which is like a very average sort of fine movie. But without further ado, let's get into this review. So, what is Black Christmas about for those who have not seen this cult classic movie? Well, Black Christmas is about this group of sorority girls who are living on campus. They're in this big sorority house, and it's Christmas time, and they're getting ready for the big Christmas party. You can see they're basically like stereotypical college girls. They drink, they party, they got boyfriends, they're having a good time with each other. However, that's interrupted by these very creepy phone calls they've been getting. Now, these phone calls are established to be, been happening for a while now because some of the girls, especially the girl who's kind of like that very confident, loudmouth, sort of more comedic one, she kind of taunts them and makes a joke out of it. And it's been apparent that this thing maybe happens quite a bit, whether it be by a different person or the same caller, that I don't know. But as these phone calls start coming in, they kind of shrug it off, treat it as something that's not that important. However, then you get this first person point of view. And this point of view essentially alludes to the fact that this killer may potentially be, breaking into the house and hiding up in the attic, which is extremely terrifying. You get this first person perspective, a lot of breathing. You get the idea of them climbing up, them snaking around the house. Sorry for the air conditioning, by the way, if that makes a loud sound. Just gonna try to talk over it. It's louder in this room than it is in my other room, so yeah, basically the killer breaks into the house, starts creeping around. You get this very sort of ominous atmosphere, the fact that this could very well be happening. This is a very realistic movie because you could imagine this happening to you, somebody breaking in your house and getting that terrifying perspective of this lunatic creeping around, stalking you, watching you from the darkness on the staircases, hiding up in the attic and waiting, gibbering to themselves, being real creepy. And eventually you find out that these phone calls may possibly coming from them. And these girls may be in a lot more danger than they believe, and they may need to rely on some help because some bodies are going to be taken, as for any slasher movie or this kind of trope. So yeah, that's basically the plot of it. I don't want to give too much away. It mainly involves. Sorry if I'm having a hard time talking again. I just woke up like yesterday. But the main problem with that these girls are facing in this movie is essentially, should we take it seriously? Are these just prank calls? Do we feel safe? Do we feel like we're perfectly fine? Should we ignore the red flags, ignore potentially the danger, or should we start acting on it? And if we act on it, are we too late? Are we underestimating the threat at hand? And that's what you get with this kind of psychotic killer who calls. When the psychotic killer is calling them, you get these jumble of several different voices, these madman ramblings. You have these, voices of these girls screaming, of him saying like, "Oh, you dirty cunt, you dirty bitch, I'm gonna kill you, I'm skinny alive." And then you get like babies crying and, people arguing, a lot of crazy shit on the phone. To basically psych out and create that level of suspense where these girls are terrified. He's kind of building up this sense of fear within them and this level of paranoia of are we safe? Are we really safe in our own house? Is there dangers around? And when people start getting killed off, it's done in a way that people don't find out in time, and it leads to problems. So the positives of this movie, I covered it a little bit in the beginning. But the main positives of Black Christmas 1974 is the fact that it's a super creepy movie, right? This is very realistic. This could unfortunately happen to a lot of people, where a killer could break into your house, hide up there for a while, and basically mentally torture you. They could call you, they could harass you, and basically be playing with their prey. And that's what this killer is doing. He's playing with his prey. And he's preying upon these girls, and he's taking them out, and he's basically causing them to be in this constant state of paranoia that starts affecting some of their, decision making, where they either become super ignorant or they become super paranoid, especially by the end of the movie. The climax and the ending of this movie, I think, are pretty great. They're actually genuinely creepy. That climax and ending genuinely freaked me out, from the way it's shot, from the way the sound effects are, from the visuals that are done. Again, that eyeball through the doorway with the certain person rambling and saying crazy stuff is terrifying. Again, I imagined that happening to me in real life, and it made it even more scary. I think that the atmosphere to the movie is pretty good. It's very simplistic, kind of like Halloween 1, which I watched quite a while ago. Not too long ago, though. But Halloween 1 to me is more effective because, again, more stuff is actually happening. The killer is actually more of a threat in that movie and more established, and you get some more backstory. Here it's very much relying on the fact that this killer is completely unknown. It's mysterious. You don't know the motivation. You have some suspects. You have some ideas that you think maybe this is what's happening, but you don't really know if that's the case or not. And you have to rely on that mystery, rely on that suspense, rely on that creepiness. And it works towards the climax and ending. Stuff actually starts happening, and that ominous atmosphere actually has a payoff and actually has a creepy, finale to it. And the twist ending is terrifying. The way the twist ending is done in this movie, the way it's shot, you go room by room. For those of you who've seen it, you go room by room throughout the house, and you find out something which potentially thwarts the plans of the police and the intentions of what the girls wanted to happen, which is quite creepy and genuinely very, very creepily done, and ends on a very creepy note. So I thought that was super effective. However, the negatives I have towards this movie is, again, I get it's the first sort of slasher, the first one to pick up, one of the first ones, not the first one, but it's one of the first ones that came out, probably one of the first 5 ones that popped off. Not much happens throughout the movie, and that is kind of a problem to me, because most of it is nothing happening. All the kills are off screen. There's no actual violence or gore in the movie. There's no actual you seeing the kill scenes. They're all censored, or not censored, but they're all off screen, so intentionally censored. You don't actually see what happens to them, and essentially you just kind of see the aftermath of what happens to those victims and how they look afterward. That's really all there is to it. But throughout the story, nothing's really happening. It's just sort of people get killed. A couple people get killed off screen. You get a lot of these creepy phone calls. You get a lot of these ominous shots of, people walking around, people suspecting that somebody might be in the house, the killer walking around the house. You have, the police getting involved and trying to figure out, if they can track the phone line and figure out what's happening. And nothing really happens. Again, 70% of the movie is nothing really happening, just sort of build up, and then it does pay off in that climax and ending, which is why I gave it an 8 out of 10 in my opinion. I think it earns an 8 out of 10. It's a quite a good movie just off of that, right? It's a good movie. But if it wasn't for that climax and ending, this would have probably gotten a 7 out of 10. It would have been a fine because, again, nothing would have happened. It wouldn't have interested me that much. And, while I get people saying, it's very simplistic, it was a pioneer, it was done back in the day. I had a discussion with my friends on the Goose Junkies podcast when we were talking about Say Cheese and Die, the Are You Afraid of the Dark, Tale of the Curious Camera, and then the Most Unusual Camera from Twilight Zone. This idea was done first in the Most Unusual Camera Twilight Zone, but that idea was improved on by the later versions. And people, use that as a way like, oh, they ripped off Twilight Zone, but that concept was more fleshed out and done better. That's how I kind of feel towards, this movie where, Halloween 1, I felt like that, where, not much stuff is really happening, so should I really rep it, but it ended up being a good movie, and it had a lot of material and stuff in there that helped it out. Here, there's not much material. There's not much stuff really going on. It's just relying on the fact that it's creepy, it's realistic horror, it's paranoia-based, and that's what, you kind of get a thrill off of. So with that, it only goes so far, because again, without that climax and ending, 75% of the movie, or 80% of the movie is nothing happening, right? And another kind of problem I have is I know this is represented as female empowerment, right? Especially considering it kind of sparked the slasher genre, the main girl standing up for herself and opposing the villain. But I don't get as powerful sense of female empowerment as I have in other movies. Like Halloween 1, for example. Halloween 1, I think, does better for female empowerment involving Laurie Strode than it does for this main character in Black Christmas. Because throughout the movie, you have, the comedic girl telling the police officer that, call her at like 888 fellatio or something, right? Kind of taking away their credibility and kind of, clowning the very police they're asking help from. You have the main head kind of lady who's running the sorority. She's like an older lady. When the first girl who's the victim's dad comes over, she's essentially like drinking in front of him. She's threatening to kill her pet, like kill her cat in front of him. There's all these posters of, like different people in like sexual positions and very erotic art all around. So it's setting a bad example for him, right? And then you have, again, that one girl who tells the police officer to dial him at 888 fellatio, even though she's asking those very cops for help later down the line. And then you have, the fact that there are men helping, right? There are police officers. The men are helping them, right? They're trying to track down the phone number. They're putting in all this effort. They're doing detective work. That one main detective is helping out the main character girl by trying to find out more information out of her, finding out what her boyfriend's relationship to her might be, and all this stuff. And then you have a separate search party that's happening around the neighborhood and around the sorority place, where they're basically, trying to hunt down this killer. They got shotguns, they got guns, they're knocking on doors, making sure everybody's safe, lock your windows, lock your doors, and they're taking all these preventative measures to potentially stop the killer. So I'm like, all right, you have men in the movie that are putting in the effort, and then you have these, sorority girls who are, some of them are the definition of sorority girls, who are setting in a bad example, right? So is that really dealing with the topic of sexism and female empowerment as effectively as it could be? I don't think so. I don't think it effectively portrays that female empowerment and sexism enough. And when it comes to the main character's decision towards the climax, where there's a revelation about the killer's potential location right now, and she's instructed to leave the premises. She's instructed by the police officer, please leave the premises. Do not head up there, please. Just listen to me, please, please, please. Just leave, please, please, please. Just leave. Police are on their way. They're about to be there in 30 seconds. They will arrest the man. They will do whatever there needs to be. Please, please, please. Just leave and, guarantee your safety. And she decides to drop the phone. She walks up to the fireplace, grabs one of those metal pokers, and then she starts screaming up. She starts yelling upstairs and then walking up there. And I'm sitting there like, that has to be one of the dumbest character decisions of the century. Like, that is the type of shit that scary movie makes fun of and parodies. Like, you have police officers on the line saying, this is where the killer is at. You are within attack range. Please leave right now because police are on their way. They have your location. Once you get out, they're going to break in there and they're going to arrest the man or kill him or shoot him or do whatever needs to be done so that way you can be guaranteed your safety. And instead of listening to that and getting justice for all of her friends and people who got killed, instead of getting justice for all the people who got killed, right? Because what would have happened is that the police would have came, arrested the correct guy. I'm not going to go too much into that because, mild spoilers. Arrest the correct person or potentially kill the correct person and stop the madness and get vengeance and get, a sense of, the right thing being done. However, instead, the main character decides to go with the most irrational decision. She decides to go up there, not with the gun, not with the huge butcher knife, but with the damn metal poking stick. Goes up to the top floor, tries breaking down the door. So mind you, the killer is not even chasing her. So when people say, oh, that's such a brave decision. No, brave to me is that the killer is chasing her, pursuing her, and she's grabbing a metal stick from the furnace, stabbing him, fighting for her life, protecting herself so she doesn't go out like a bitch. She takes his ass down. That to me is brave, right? Or heading up there, even though there's police, you head up there with a big knife, or like, not even just a big knife, but like a gun and a big knife, multiple weapons, and you're like, you know what? Fuck that, I'm gonna kill him. But you're coming well prepared though. But you're smart. You're coming well prepared. You got a gun. You got huge knives on you. You got take the furnace stick too. Take the furnace stick. Take multiple knives. Take multiple weapons and go up there and take care of business, right? Or at least have a gun. Please have a gun and go up there. Or, bring in some people and be like, you know what, let's take care. Let me go get the search party guys. We'll go in there and shoot his ass up and get vengeance. No, she grabs one metal stick, goes up to this killer's room, and they don't know anything about the killer. He's posted up in this room. He's hiding in this room. He's not chasing her. He's not putting her life in danger right now. He's hidden up in this room. And you don't know what he has. She could have opened up she could have opened up that door and she could have had an axe just come straight down on her cranium. He could have pulled out a pistol and bopped her right in the cranium. It would have been over. And if that was the case, a lot of the fans would have been singing a much different tune. And that's just a fact. That is just the facts. If this main character would have died from that instance, all the fan base would have been tuning a different horn. They would have been like, oh my God, she's so stupid. She should have done this, and that. And guess what? The stuff that they would have been telling her to do is the shit that I was telling her what to do. And the shit that I'm saying that she should have done to begin with in this review. But because she didn't die, because it turned out to be unsuccessful still. Mind you, it was still unsuccessful. But it didn't end up with her dying. People are tuning a different horn and saying she's brave. But if she got killed, it would have been a different tune horned. I don't give a fuck. That's what would have happened. Because that's the type of shit that happens in every single movie. It's the shit that happens in real life as well. Hindsight is a bitch. So when this certain event happens, everybody starts going, oh yeah, I believed in her. Good job, girl. Yeah, man, you did a great job. But if she died, oh man, I knew this bitch was stupid. This bitch should have done this. Exactly. You know it's true. You know it's true. You don't want to admit it. You don't want to admit it because you don't want to look like a poser. But you know it's true. All right, and that's my opinion. That's my opinion. But you know what? My opinion's kind of backed up by facts because this shit has happened how many times in real life and in movies as well. I'm just saying. All right. Also, she ends up being unsuccessful. Damn. She was unsuccessful. God damn. She was unsuccessful. Ain't that a bitch? If the police would have came in, broke in there, arrested the guy, or killed him, they would have gotten the right guy. They would have gotten the correct man. Just saying. I'm just saying. But I am saying, and it is facts. So, keep that in mind. Those are my negatives with the movie. But again, it doesn't detract too much from the score. I still gave it an 8 out of 10. This is a good movie. Again, mostly because of that climax and ending being so scary and effective. The creepy atmosphere kind of helping to build up to that. So it does end up having a good finale. However, a majority of the movie is nothing happening. You know, the whole idea of some of the themes in the movie are not as well done as are, as done in other slasher movies. Again, look at Halloween 1, look at some other movies where they, execute the themes of, sexism and female empowerment, I think, a lot better. um and also, again, the character decision still to me is one of the dumbest character decisions. And the fact that it gets defended so heavily by the fan base is to me kind of hypocritical, because if it would have went the wrong way, you would have been tuning a different horn. But because it went correctly, you're saying it's a certain way, even though it was still unsuccessful. Listen, man, it is what it is. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Should I have suggested you watch this movie? Yeah, watch it on Christmas. It's a good creepy movie. It's gonna genuinely creep you out, I think, especially if you imagine this happening to you. And unfortunately, it very well could happen to you, sometimes. I hope it doesn't, but there's a high chance that stuff like this happens all the time, and unfortunately it does, which adds to the creepiness, the ominous of the movie, and kind of invoking that, primal fear within you. And I think it is, kind of like a simple, nice movie. You want to kick back, relax, kick your feet up. Oh, not going to show the toes. Not today. Kick your feet up, relax, just watch a movie, enjoy it, get creeped out, and you'll have a good time. However, if you're looking towards this with the hype that people have given it, like, oh, it's a 10 out of 10 movie, it's the best thing ever, it's a cult classic. I mean, it's a good movie, but I don't see it as a 10 out of 10 fantastic movie. Do I think it's good? Yeah. Do I think that it's the greatest thing since sliced bread? Not really. No, no. But those are my thoughts. That's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. I hope you guys enjoyed the Christmas setting. I'm going to try to keep doing more stuff like this if I get the chance to. And yeah, that's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please take care on this Christmas. Enjoy the time with your family. Enjoy the Christmas spirit. And obviously spend time with your loved ones. Get some fine-ass presents. And then, eat some Christmas cookies. Drink some eggnog and whatnot. That's all I have for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, deuces. Man, I love this lighting, by the way. It makes me look so ominous. No, it just makes me look like the killer from Black Christmas. Never mind. I thought it looked better on me, but it did.